to the world. Subscribe now to the Hot 97 YouTube channel. It's Ebro in the Morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thought it was canceled. And then he's back. He's our guy, though. But we got questions. It's Ebro, Laura Rosenberg. Eric Adams is on the program. What's happening, man?
Hey, how you, man? You know it's always good being on your show. I wonder why I had the blackout period. You know that?
Nah. So what happened was, we was having a lot of trying to, give everybody a little bit of time. You're our brother, so we're gonna have you on. So we wanted to have you back on closer to the election when it was hot. You know what I mean? To make sure these conversations was hot. And also, I didn't want to give you the benefit of the doubt because you my bro, and I know you. We see you out and about. I want to see how you handle this moment. You running for the job.
Love it, brother. Love it, man. You know what's interesting to you and your listeners, how long this has been going on. I was just sitting back the other day speaking with my son. 1973, when 10-year-old Clifford Glover was shot blocks from my house, I was part of that protest. 1976, Randy Evans, 15-year-old, was shot. Part of the protest with Reverend Daughtry. 1978, 18 years old, Arthur Miller was killed by chokehold. I was mobilizing with Black United Front. 1984, I was a rookie in the police academy. Eleanor Bumpus was shot by Sullivan. I mobilized in the Bronx. I used to lead the police academy in my police academy uniform, go up to the Bronx to protest with the people in the street. And, when you think about how long I've been doing this, no one that's running for mayor right now has that resume at all. No one. I'm the only one with that resume, going from being beat on the floor of the 103rd precinct, going to Spofford, pissing blood in the toilet that first night in Spofford because cops kicked me in my groin. No one can give you this resume of being committed to this fight. This is my life work.
So I think that's why when we hear, and maybe it's taken out of context, let's give you a moment, we can explain. When we see on social media, which influences people a lot, including myself, that you think Stop and Frisk was a good tool. That's what takes people are like, what's he talking about? He knows that didn't work.
And let's break that down, brother. Let's break that down. Because one thing about you, you're a real talk cat, and you're not just getting caught up on social media. A lot of people think social media is academic research right now, and it's not. And my opponents, because they don't have a record, they want to use my statement on Stop and Frisk as their talking points. They need to say, where were they when I was fighting this? So let's look at this thing called Stop and Frisk. This is what police officers were doing in the city. They were being told at the beginning of the tour, you have a quota on the number of stop and frisk you must do. And so they were going out into Black and brown communities, stopping every Black and brown young person they saw. So what did I do? 100 Blacks in law enforcement who care. We went on a full frontal assault to hit Giuliani, Kelly, and everyone else that was involved to say they're abusing our children. I testified in federal court. Judge Shinlin mentioned me in her ruling when she ruled against the NYPD. We fought this while we were in the police department. I mean, the record is so clear. And I want to read just one thing to you.
So then why would you say that, though? What was the context of the statement?
Let me break that down to you. Think about this for a moment, Ebro. Do you have any children?
Yes.
Okay. Your child is getting ready to leave the house. All of a sudden, you look out the window, 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, 12 o'clock, they get ready to go to a party. You see someone standing outside and they put a gun in their waistband. You're going to call the police. And when you call the police, you want the police to come, stop the person, and question the person. Hey, do you have the right to carry this gun? So if we say, hey, Ebro, we're not coming because we're not allowed to stop and question this person, then what are we saying? That makes no sense, brother. People are playing.
So what you were trying to articulate is that police need to have a way to figure out who's got guns in these streets. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Right, and not the way they were doing it. They were abusing.
So here's the problem that I have.
Yes.
I don't trust that given the authority to get back to something like that, that the NYPD will get it right. That's the problem. The problem is we would be insane to sit here like, yo, yeah, no, let them go back out there and do what they was doing again. No.
Brother, you're 100% right. Ebro, you're right. And so what is that requires then? It requires a mayor that understands how to go after those abusive cops. It requires a mayor that's bold enough to say, we're going to make you use your cameras anytime you interact with the public. We're going to monitor and make sure that we get rid of you, not in 4 years like Pandaleo, someone that understands the system of policing. No one's running for mayor that understand that. Man, they're going to run rings around these cats, brother.
Well, I understand that, but that's why I like Maya Wiley. Why I say I like Maya Wiley, because she worked with the CCRB. And I want the CCRB to have more power and oversight.
Brother, go look for two things. Number one, look at Maya Wiley's record when she was in the CCRB. Speak to the people who were there. You speak for you find out for yourself. Look at the fact that she's saying, hey, let's have less police officers on the street, but she has private security. And I'm cool with people who like other candidates, but they shouldn't be shitting on me. My record is clear. No candidate that's running for mayor, brother, went back to 1973. I was 13 years old when I started this fight. So people could have other candidates, but don't say, no, what, we're going to dismiss Eric's.
So do you believe in more police? You want more police and you want stop and frisk?
No, this is what I want, brother. I want to change the ecosystem of public safety in the city, and I have the experience to do so. You don't need more police. We need to bring in crisis management team, give them the funding that they deserve. So not only can they stop retaliatory shooters, but they can get our young people jobs. Let's do dyslexia screening in every school. 30% of our inmates at Rikers Island are dyslexic. We are abandoning our babies. And so it's not about more policing. It's about changing the ecosystem of public safety, mental health professionals, going inside our schools and being crisis management, trauma identifiers. I'm changing this whole game of public safety because I know public safety. No one else knows public safety.
Are you entrusting the NYPD to be your partner in this, or are you bringing in people from the civilian culture to change the culture?
Yes, brother, you got to bring in a civilian. If you're going to change the culture, like I said, brother, we're changing the ecosystem. We have never defined the role of policing in the ecosystem of public safety. We turned public safety over completely to police. And I'm saying, no, that's not how we're doing this. We're going to bring in folks like A.T. Mitchell, Erica Ford, all of these cats that have been part of the CMS team. My girl up, Jackie Rowe Adams, up in Harlem. These are people I have soldiered with for 40 years, Ebro, 40 years. Ask Maya Wiley, where was she when Abner Louima was sodomized? Abner Louima endorsed me. Where was she when Sean Bell was murdered in 103rd Precinct? His dad endorsed me. Ask her why no victims have endorsed her, brother, because they weren't on the ground.
That's right.
We know that, Eric, your main thing is being on the ground. You've done a great job of that over the years. It's always been, I think, your calling card. Are you saying, though, clearly and definitively, there will not be more police under Eric Adams?
I'm saying that clearly and definitively. We're going to show how you change the ecosystem of public safety. You're going to see a greater involvement of young people. You're going to see a greater involvement of conflict resolution. And let me tell you something. You know what the best way to fight crime? Give a cat a job.
That's right.
You know, we got 55% of the inmates at Rikers Island have a learning disabilities. 55%. And you know what? Let me tell you something, brother. Let's be clear on something. I was not supposed to be here. I went through in my entire public school system. I was called the dumb student. I was a D student. It wasn't until college that I learned I had a learning disability. So I was supposed to be in the streets slinging drugs like everybody else who were denied the opportunities. I was running numbers at 12 years old. But because I found out my learning disability and got help, I went from a D student to be on the dean's list. My story is the story of what America has done to black men. America break black men. That's what this is about right now. They think they were going to break me. Remember that old scene in Roots where they constantly beat Kunta Kinte until he said Toby? They spent 60 years trying to get me to say Toby. And now I'm at the top of the mayor's campaign. Every black man in America is going to look at me and say, This brother did it. We're going to turn ourselves around and get it right also. This is a very, very important moment for Black men.
So let me ask you this. Because of all these things and because we know you, we see you on the street and everybody knows you, why when I'm using air quotes, a scandal of where Eric Adams lives, why don't you lean into these moments? Why does it feel like, they got you running scared?
Define leaning in, because I want to get a clear definition.
Well, we don't hear communication from you. They say, Eric Adams doesn't even live in New York. He lives in Fort Lee.
Now, when you say leaning in, brother, I mean, how better can you lean in? Let me tell you something. That story based on Andrew Yang, Newport's Andrew Yang, who number one, his companies discriminated against Blacks. He didn't even talk about gun violence until there was a shooting down a block from him. All of his lies and fraud, that's an Andrew Yang soundbite. And so if I did not say, listen, come to my crib and see where I live, that would have engulfed this entire campaign. That's why I leaned into it. And they're saying, what, a Black man can't own 2 homes? Yeah, I own 2 homes. I mean, he owns 2. So why can't I? See, we got to listen to the hidden message that people are saying. This learning disability, bald-headed, ex-arrested, CUNY grad is now at the top of the mayor's race. That's pissing some folks off, brothers. Let's be clear, man. I'm not supposed to be here, Ebro. Let's be clear on this.
Now, the soundbite Laura and I have talked about this morning, this was my other question for you. It was, you believe that 300 students could be taught by one teacher virtually. It sounded peculiar. Me as having a child and a student in school, I was like, I don't know if this is what he means. I even tweeted, what are you saying here and why are you saying it? Can you explain?
Yes, think about this for a moment, brother. Listen, as I stated, I'm a child with learning disabilities. I was a child with learning disabilities. I'm clear of the engagement with students and teachers. That's important. But think about what Eric Adams is saying. First of all, it's not through the school year. That's not what we're talking about. But Jeff Bezos is getting ready to go into space, right? How about Jeff Bezos using technology to speak directly to children in Brownsville while he's in space? How about the designer of that rocket speaking to these young people while he's in space? Our children are not exposed, brother. How about not having the greatest scientists, the greatest mathematicians, the greatest technology, going right into South Jamaica, Queens, South Bronx, letting them use Zoom, WebEx to speak directly with them? How about young brothers and sisters having a one-on-one conversation with you while you in the studio talking about the industry?
What you're trying to say is an individual like a Bezos or whomever conducting a panel or a speaking, and that being piped into multiple classrooms is what
exactly. This is not the normal school day. I'm saying let's use technology to expose our children to the scope of what's out there, brother. We have children in our city who leave their night shift development, go to school and go back home. That's all they do. They don't even know there's a whole city out here. But technology exposing them will give them the opportunity to say, wait a minute, I can go learn about something else. We need internships, externships. One of the biggest challenges I had as a child, I never left South Jamaica, Queens. I was always on 167th Street or at St. Albans Park. It wasn't until one of my teachers in the 6th grade took me to Manhattan to a play that I said, wait a minute, there's a whole nother universe out here. We got to expose our children, and technology is a way to do so. They do it. Trust me, they do it.
So you're saying what we saw was taken out of context?
Brother, no, this is silly political season where everyone wants to say, okay, let's exploit everything that he says. People know I wasn't talking about 300-400 students in a classroom. Come on, brother.
Well, to quote, here's a quote. It says, with new technology, you don't need school children to be in a school building with a number of teachers. It's just the opposite. You could have one teacher to teach 300 to 400 students. And that's what raised the red flag for me, because I know everyone as parents that I know have been struggling with their kids with online learning. You know what I mean? It's tough. And I also know friends of mine that are teachers aide that have been working in communities that don't even have Wi-Fi. So to me, it as a parent, it struck me like, Absolutely not. I think more than ever, public schools need more support. And when I heard something like that, because I saw a video clip, it shocked me. And that's why Ebro saw the same thing. And he said, please explain to this. And that's why I'm just quoting what the video said.
Right. And I'm clear on this. You know, first of all, I was talking 30 to 40 children, number one, to use online learning. Online learning has been a total failure. And it's going to be here now to complement school days, because we're going to have snow days. We're going to have days when children are sick. We're going to have some children did well in online learning, but overall it was a total failure. But we have to master online learning because it's going to be incorporated in the educational experience. It will never take the way of the interaction of a teacher and a student. That would never happen under an Eric Adams administration. And then we need to bring back the joy of learning into schools. We have destroyed that altogether. And we need to have, like I said, externships, vocational training, extending school days, catching up to the summer slide. We need to rethink education in our city. So I want to be very clear. We're not talking about online learning being displacing teachers in classroom. That's not happening. But let's use the tool to expose our children to a more well-rounded education. And I stand by that, because all of my experts that I sat down with in education say there's a way to expose our children better.
And they'll get more.
And when you talk about Wi-Fi, who was in charge of the Wi-Fi in our city? They were supposed to expand Wi-Fi out in our city. Maya Wiley.
Really?
Hey, yes, brother. This is what I'm trying to tell you, man. See, you can check my record because I have a record. We need to check the records of those who are trying to critique my record because they're trying to hide their failing record.
So, Andrew Yang got the endorsement of the Captains Union, I believe, which was a union you were a part of. I thought that was a good thing because that told me that he's getting too cozy with the police and may not want to make enough changes. And you're trying to push the issue, made him uncomfortable, and they didn't want to endorse you. Why did you not get that endorsement?
Let's peel it back so we can have a full understanding of it. Number one, he says these are the people who know me. Nope, they don't. When this is 15 years ago, I was a captain, right? Those guys were cops and sergeants while I was a captain. I was their supervisor, holding them accountable. Remember what was happening back then? I was at the peak of fighting for reform, fighting against the abuse of Stop and Frisk, fighting against the abuse of young people being arrested for marijuana possession, testifying on the city, state, and federal level. I was holding all those guys accountable. And so now that they got promoted to captain, they're saying, listen, this is payback time, because Eric was on our rear all the time saying what policing should be like in this city. And so now they want to go with Andrew Yang because Andrew Yang has no clue on how to make sure police reform is in place, and he really doesn't care. I mean, let's be clear on this. Having a combination of keeping our city streets safe and not heavy-handed policing, if you don't know policing, they are going to run rings around you. They know I know. And I know how to reform that department from inside out and get rid of the abusive cops. And I made it clear months ago, I don't want your endorsement because that sends the wrong message that I'm not going to reform policing.
Eric Adams coming strong today, ladies and gentlemen. Coming very, very strong. Now, Eric, let's talk about education some more and the schools. The current chancellor,
I'm sorry, brother Ebro. I just want to read one thing before you get off policing to the education. When I went in front of the Daily News editorial board, there was a young lady on the board, and she says, "You know what? I didn't know much about your history, and I read every article that was ever put in place about you." And this is what she said. Eric Adams, an ex-cop and state legislator and current Brooklyn Borough president, is a strong second. They rated me second. Despite attempts by some on the left to pigeonhole him as conservative for his support for police, He's been a clear, consistent, and often courageous voice for law enforcement reform since long before it became politically fashionable. And he's got excellent plans to bend the curve on public safety. When people started looking at my record, because remember, there's a lot of young people in this city that they're not aware of Clifford Glover. They're not aware of the fights of Eleanor Bumpus. When people started looking into my record, a young brother stopped me the other day and he said, man, I went and started Googling you. And I was like, damn, how is this brother still alive? Listen, brother, they shot out my car windows. They tried to fire me when I said that they were not patrolling Black and brown communities during terrorist alert. I've been under fire, brother. I'm not supposed to be here. The only reason I'm here is because faith and fear cannot exist in the same place. And I have a strong faith that this is predestined. I'm going to be the mayor and I'm going to turn this city around.
And for people who are questioning why you were registered as a Republican in the 90s, what do you say?
Man, it was dumb, but I was pissed off, brother. The Democrats were abandoning our communities. Crack was everywhere. They put in place supporting the Rockefeller drug law, which was putting people in jail for long prison terms. I protested Rockefeller drug law as a sergeant. Then I went to Albany and co-sponsored the bill that repealed the Rockefeller drug law. I repealed the law that stopped people from keeping a database of innocent Black and brown people from Stop and Frisk. I wrote the law that put in place ending the quota system. And so when I looked at the crime bill that was telling Black and brown people that you were going to get long sentence, that was a Democratic bill. And so out of that anger, should I have done things differently? Heck yes. But out of that anger, that was my protest of saying I'm sick of what the Democratic Party is doing nationally to Black and brown people across this country. And so I'm a Democrat. My mom was a Democrat. My grandmother was a Democrat.
Well, what you're saying is what's happening right now with a lot of young Black men. A lot of young Black men voted Republican for the exact same reason you articulated you voted Republican back then.
Without a doubt, brother. And that's that anger that people are feeling. Let me tell you something, Ebros. We need to be clear on this, brother. America's roots, they are connected with breaking Black men. Broken Black boys turn into broken Black adolescents, turn into broken men in a broken system. The audacity of a broken Black boy on the verge to become the mayor of the city of New York is scaring the hell out of people. I know the hustle, brother. I went up through the hustle. The only reason I'm here right now is because I ran a little faster than the cats that got caught.
Eric Adams, anything before he goes, y'all? He's got to get to a press conference.
That was good stuff, man. Enjoyed it, Eric.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming through.
Thank you.
Thank you. Important election, brother. This is an important election. Listen, brother, I went through a lot. It's time for the next mayor to be a person who has gone through a lot to help people who are going through a lot. And all my haters, they're just going to be my waiters when I sit down and turn this city around.
Oh, you got bars too?
Yeah, bars too.
You got bars?
He's rapping out here.
Yo, who on your team hit me to cancel the interview, man? Who was that, man?
I have no idea, but I'm going to beat him up when I see him because man, listen, I love Ebros, man. You my dude.
Exactly.
Ebros.
We love Ebros.
We love them
Ebros
all.
in the morning. There's more than one of us.
It's all of us.
Yo,
Thanks,
man.
Eric.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks for your time.
Okay, bro. Good to see you, brother. You're going to be my communication director in City Hall.
Nah, I don't work for the government.
All right, take care.
Listen, I really appreciate your time today, man. Move back up my ranking. Everybody out there, you got ranked choice voting. Now's the time. Make sure you do your research. Listen to the candidates. I'm glad we got some more intel. Eric, we know you from in the community. Listen, you've gotten a lot of people's trust. So if you get this job, the heat is on.
Yes, sir. Love you, man. Love you all. Take care.
Love you too, man.
Take care.